It's the Raw Till 4 Type Fruit Festival. I'm here right now and the best of all. Sense fine by me, but I'm gonna solve this mystery. I know that's my true destiny. How can I get this raw fruit deep down inside me consistently? Guess what he said? Whoa, it was out of sight. Everyone has their own personal kryptonite.
Hey guys, it's Kaylee from Banana TV. I'm here with Joe Best from The Best Transformation. He was here, we met him at the Raw Till 4 Thai Fruit Festival, and he has a really amazing story and something that I think a lot of people will benefit from. It's not something that you might usually see. So to talk a little bit, how was your past? Just so we can
my past
go into this.
Such a big question.
Eating wise and activity wise and mentally wise, that kind of thing.
Well, I grew up in a typical inner city environment where the only exercise that you got was being chased or chasing someone. I'm really not even joking. And the whole diet was basically fast food. As we used to eat it in, you know, as kids in groups, eat fast food everywhere. And at home, like a home cooked meal would be, I just remember fish fingers and mashed potato and beans like endlessly. So I really didn't know about salads or even fruits, and just, you know, a long way from where I lived. I did just really city boy, urban environment for most of my life, really. So that's where the food started.
Okay, and then how did it, because now you're vegan and with a high emphasis on fruit and high carb, how did that transition take place?
That's been probably the longest journey I've ever undertaken, the most difficult journey I've ever undertaken, and I still haven't finished it. You know, as an example, so I first started binge eating. The first time I felt like food was a drug, not a food, was when I was about 14, and I was in a gang, and the gang did some stuff that I thought was just below the line that I wanted to be part of. So I left, and they kind of all ganged up on me, and then so suddenly I had no friends, and I didn't, and I more than that, they were all now enemies. Right. And I'd never been in that situation, and I didn't even know there was a world outside of where I lived. I didn't know there was other people, and that sounds weird, but I just thought there was just Old Street and gangs, and that was it. So I remember buying a big cake from the shop, a big Manor House cake and a whole block of ice cream, and eating it, and it was like, why have I done that? Like, I don't know, there was something going on from a very early time with the food. But to get out of that environment, I went through this transition where I basically went from being in a gang to working in an investment bank, which was basically another gang. But it looked really good. They didn't tell you they were a gang. They told you that this was the good thing. But my point of sharing that is people thought I was quite heroic to do that. It was like the pursuit of happiness. It's like young kid on the streets in London, through education and through lots of blags and all kinds of very interesting twists and turns, got myself into a top tier investment bank in about 5 years. Wow! But it was pretty epic. But compared to putting the correct food in my body, that was like a cakewalk. Right. That's why I was so frustrated, because I got into raw food in 2000, and I was like, this would be done in a year. Given my past record of my ability to transform myself, to get out of the gangs, to stop all that kind of activity, I got off drugs, got off drinking, got off all the smoking and stuff. I really thought when I discovered raw food, because I didn't have the information until then, I thought when I discovered raw food, this would be done in a year. And it was not even close. It was just, it's still going on. It's 15 years later and it's still going on. And the thing I'll say about that, the reason why I think it took so long is what had worked for me in everything that I'd done up until that point was a gung-ho, all-out, gun-blazing approach. Like, to get from being on the streets to into a bank, it wasn't any time for like easy does it. It was just full out the whole time, running on adrenaline for like 6 years, really. I thought that would be the same thing. That's what would work with fitness and health. And I went guns blazing into yoga and fitness. Lasted 2 weeks, bailed. Guns blazing overnight, 100% raw. Couldn't do it. It was just like, it was just too disturbing for me. And also, what had worked for me before was persistence. And that's why I was still trying it 15 years later, because I don't give up. But some things you have to give up. And I've never given up on anything. And so I didn't. And so 15 years, I'm still like, I'm going to be 100% raw. You know, but the lesson was to learn that you don't have to, just the opposite of what I thought it was.
Right.
That you can let it go.
Right.
That you don't have to be 100% anything. That some things don't require a gun blazing approach. Like Gently does it.
Yeah.
So all those lessons are lessons that I hadn't never learned before. So the food taught me.
Yeah. Did you find that there was a shifting point where you knew you had to change something?
Well, I'd been having various successes with all types of raw. So gourmet raw was successful for a while. Juice feasting was successful for a while. You know, Anne Wigmore approach. I lived in a raw food centre. I used to do sprouting and stuff and all kinds of crazy stuff. And, you know, just all the different types of raw worked. I even did a Doug Graham thing for a while.
Wow.
But the problem with it is that as soon as I took my eye off it, it wouldn't be a lifestyle. It was always something I was doing.
Right.
And I think the turning point, there wasn't any one turning point, and there still hasn't been a turning point, just I might add. But what I started to notice was that I started to become more and more okay with myself not being able to do it.
Right.
And before it was really hard that there's something that I couldn't do. I couldn't understand why I couldn't do it. I didn't understand why I kept binge eating when I knew that if I eat raw, I'd be healthy. There was something in my psyche. You know, people talk about emotional eating and that kind of topic, which is a very complicated topic, and you know, it's a far-reaching topic. But basically, when I was living a life where I was under-eating, so whenever I was binge eating, I'd eat a lot of food, and then when I went raw, in my mindset, I'm being healthy.
Right.
So I'm eating less, but also the portions can look bigger.
Right.
Like if I've got a big avocado salad next to a Big Mac and Coke, it looks like a big meal.
Right.
But it's not. It's a small meal. It's like 300 calories, even with oil.
Yeah.
So I'm eating these big salads thinking I'm filling up, but I'm under eating. And what that does is when what I've now learned, when you under eat, it sets a stage for me to eat in an emotional way.
Right.
Even though there's no such thing as emotional eating. Because low blood sugar feels emotional anyway.
Right.
It feels like sadness. And also, when I've trained myself to go for these stimulants, I noticed, because I'm very self-aware, I started to notice that I would create situations that would allow me to go and stimulate. So I'd just be like walking down the street and suddenly I'm like, oh, I feel like crap. But I feel like crap because I just walked past a chip shop and my subconscious mind has been like, chips.
Right.
And it's not being evil. What it's doing is the subconscious mind will send you to whatever calorie source you've trained it to seek. So if you lived in a place where you grew up fruit, you'd be like, oh, I feel like crap. Where's the mango tree? Right? Your brain will just send you to whatever calories you learn. And in our society, we've been trained, and we train ourselves to know that the calorie sources, the most readily available calorie sources, are fast food takeaways. There's no waiting time. It's handheld, so it clicks into the primal feel. It's always the same. They go for the consistency, so that's out the door. Yeah. And it's just you just get into this situation where that button just keeps getting pushed. So it's an interesting situation to be in. I forgot what your question was, but I don't care. It's just one of those things. And I think now I'm just taking a much more gentle approach to all of it. I think what you was asking me about, I was talking about how I started to accept myself. So this was torturous for me because one, I started getting fat, and I wasn't fat until like 10, 15 years ago. I was always quite good shape, and that was weird. Like to suddenly be a fat person, I'm like, this is just not cool. And then also being in, like, for me, that it wasn't so much the vanity. I was so embarrassed that I couldn't do this. That's what it wasn't like, oh, I look fat. You can kind of get away with it, you know, but it was the embarrassment that people knew what I was trying to do and I couldn't do it. That destroyed me. That took my confidence. It killed my self-esteem. After all the successes I'd had, to not be able to eat food like that I wanted to eat was just the worst feeling. And what changed is I started to accept that. I started to accept myself as someone that cannot do this.
Yeah.
And that started to make me feel like get my power back.
Yeah.
So I think I answered your question there in the end.
Yeah. And then at some point you started to get sick, right?
Yeah, I got diagnosed with diabetes in 2005.
And that was type 1 or type 2?
Type 2.
So type 2 diabetes. And so that's been a while.
Yeah.
And was that something that in the beginning you really tried to find a solution for, or did you just kind of accept it?
I tried to find a solution, but binge eating, which many people say they have it, but what binge eating feels like is if someone's holding your breath, and you'll get the food to the degree that, like, if someone's holding your breath, how much would you fight to get away from that? That's what a binge urge feels like. So diabetes, don't give a crap about it. I've got diabetes and I'm just eating. I'm binge eating with diabetes. Yeah. Because the diabetes is not a strong enough deterrent, because the binge urge already feels like you're trying to survive. Right. So the urge to survive through the binge eating is stronger than the urge to survive with diabetes. So it kind of like, you know, people look at people with diabetes who kill themselves, and to see it, because diabetes is a symptom that comes about, not everybody, but for me, from binge eating. Binge eating is the problem. That diabetes is a symptom of that, and the symptom's not going to reverse the cause as such. Right. Now it's kind of like you get to the point where you start to realise, I really am, like, without being dramatic, I really am killing myself with what I'm eating. Yeah. And that, you marinate on that for a while, for a few years, and you're like, hang on, no, I really am doing it. Is that what I want to do? So a lot of the work is starting to learn to actually, like, it sounds really weird, but it's like it's wanting to learn to care for yourself, because in the environment that I grew up in, you don't learn that. So I don't care about caring myself. I care about having stimulation. Do you know what I mean? And it's just slowly shifting that to like what started to happen is I started to get the steering wheel back a little bit. Yeah. That happened, I can't remember when, but I started to see, like, occasionally I'd go for a binge and I'd stop during, or I'd turn away. I don't want to go on about it, but it's the most crazy thing. It's like when you're going on a binge, it's like you're being pulled along. Yeah. And you're walking, you're not in control. You're like, why am I doing this? And you know where you're going. Yeah. And the rational mind is like, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do it. But that part of me, the survival mechanism that's underfed, undercarbed, stressed, going for calories, it's designed to not listen to the logic. Right. Because I thought it's like a train's coming towards me. No matter how much I say, I'm just going to stand here because I'm going to jump. And it's like that. No matter how much I tell myself I'm not going to get it, I'm not going to get it, the mechanism is off on its march. So it really was a question of just observing it and finding these little gaps where you could just turn it around. Yeah. And that took quite a long time to do that, but it's training a power. Right. And more, I could find I could turn it around and just not do it. Right. So the more practice you have at something. Yeah. But this was exactly. But I also, when people ask me what have you been doing all this time, right? This became a full-time job. I quit my job. I was a banker. I was earning a load of money. I didn't really like the job though, but I quit it, and I spent the 10 years trying to solve this problem full-time. Wow. It's all I did. I became a hypnotherapist. I became an EFT practitioner. I went to all the spiritual centers around the world, like the Osho and all these other places, Balanced View, and I just trained and trained and trained. And I developed all these ways to manage these cravings so they wouldn't affect me. So in a way, it was a great teacher, because now I've developed all these skills that show up in other areas. Right. And I think now, I can help, like, people who have binge eating. I so know what's going on with it. Yeah. I know how to unhook that thing, like turn that system off.
Yeah.
You know?
That's amazing. That's amazing. And that was part of your story. Is something that really caught our attention when we first met you, was that you had diabetes, and you really were starting to take control of it and take the power back into your own hands, and slowly starting to reverse it. Can you speak a little bit about reversing diabetes while you're sitting here eating lots of fruit, lots of carbs, that kind of thing?
So basically, everything that they tell you about diabetes is incorrect.
Right.
Diabetes is basically described as a disorder of sugar metabolism, but it's a disorder of fat metabolism. The word that I like, I don't know if this is a real word, but lipotoxicity. It's basically, in my opinion, I'm not a medical professional, but that's not helped many people anyway, is some people who get diabetes, because not everyone who overweight is diabetic, they just store a lot of intracellular fat. Intracellular fat stops, and blood fat stops insulin working. So to reverse it, I tried the low carb, I tried the Atkins. I was really desperate because I wanted to be vegan, and I'm doing Atkins to try and get rid of diabetes. I tried low fat, high fat raw food, and that did help, but I was always hungry. And then I just thought, you know what, I'm going to try the fruit. And it's quite scary to do that, because I started eating the fruit, my blood sugar went to 20, which is about 300 to 400 in US measurements. Yeah. But I didn't care. It was only a few weeks back, and I just kept eating it, and eventually it came down to six area, and that's quite phenomenal. But
so that was without, let me just get that straight, that was without going to your doctor and getting heavily medicated, that was without all kinds of drugs being pumped into your system, that was just through diet alone. Just
through diet. And in for a diabetic, it will always work, but there is a safer way to get there. And I discovered this about week 5 or 6, is that if you mix the fruits with greens, large amounts of greens, you don't even get the sugar spikes. It just comes down immediately. Like I would wake up with blood sugar, and it would go like blood sugar of like, say, 140, or in UK that's probably like 180, so 10 in the UK, and it would go up to like 15 during the day, and then come down to 10. And then it would go up and come down a little bit quicker. Then it would go up and come a little bit quicker. And that's what started to happen. But as the fat's coming out of the body, not the body fat, the intracellular fat. Right. Then when it went away, and I started doing the greens and fruits, it would start at 10 and end at 6. So I'd eat 3,000 calories of fruit. Like, that's a lot of sugar. That's like 800 grams, so 600 grams of carbohydrates. And diabetics are recommended to do like 60 grams, 30 grams, this kind of stuff. 600 grams of carbohydrate, my blood sugar would be lower at the end of the day. But what was the interesting part, depending on, not every diabetic is going to be like this, because some diabetics don't have binge eating, and some binge eaters don't have diabetics. You're in good situations. If you're a diabetic and you don't have binge eating disorder, which means you can control your food, do it now. Do the raw till 4, or 8-10-10, whichever you prefer. Or a combination, or even just the Neil Bernard method, which is just low fat, high carb, vegan food. It has to be vegan, because your body cannot, a diabetic cannot eat dairy and meat. Your blood sugar will stay high indefinitely. But you can even do that now, and if you're a binge eater, you can work on your binge eating without having diabetes. When you've got both, it's a tricky situation, right? Because if you undereat to bring the diabetes under control, you're going to stimulate the binge eating. Right. So then you're going to yo-yo, binge eat, your blood sugar is going to spike. And so it's a very difficult thing to do when you have the binge eating, which gets triggered by under eating and the blood sugar. And I think for me, that's been the biggest challenge, is to maintain the stability. The image I've got in my head is of me cycling a bicycle with all funny shaped wheels. That's what it feels like. It's like, oh, it's gone. Oh no, what's it doing now? It's not. It's trying to make that stabilised can be challenging, but it is possible.
You've dropped a huge amount of points in a matter of weeks.
Yeah, massive. Like, the doctors wouldn't even believe it. It's literally 6 weeks from, blood sugar that you can have a coma with to normal blood sugar.
In 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
In
Eating
6 weeks.
delicious food. But because of the binge eating, and I'll be honest about it, I got these results. And then as I got these results, I'm like, wow, it's 6. Wow, I'm celebrating. It's all really good. And I dropped the ball. And it went back up to about 9. But that's not the food. That's the problem. It's the other issue that I'm dealing with. But as I said, it's like that funny bicycle. Just bring it back down.
Right.
Like do the next thing to maintain it. But regardless of my ability to apply it right now, which is still pretty high, it is possible. You can eat those foods, be full, eat loads of it as well. I made a little video recently with 2 kilograms of mango ice cream for breakfast.
I love that video.
As a diabetic. 2 kilograms.
We're going to put that link to that video in the description below so you guys can see it.
Yeah, it's like kitchen hoodie in,
Yeah.
in the house. But yeah, it's like, it's amazing to have that. 2 kilograms of...
It's amazing. And one thing that we find very, scary is that a lot of people are not looking at this success as a success. So Joe has been banned from several groups and several forums regarding diabetes when he's posting his success. So why do you think that is? Why are people so resistant to hearing that you've actually had so much success with this?
Right. So I believe that every person is doing the best they can with their current circumstances. And these moderators genuinely believe that they don't want to give people false hope. But also, when any entity sets itself up, its goal is to survive. Whether it's a being or an online group, it's now an entity, and its goal is to survive. And a solution to an area that provides support is a threat. It's like a charity. If a cure for cancer come out, goodbye half the charities in the world. Not a cure, well, there is a cure for cancer actually.
Yeah.
If it would be accepted, then goodbye charity. So they're not trying to be mean, but they think they're doing a good job. And the solution to diabetes is a threat to their existence. So they use this idea that everyone needs to be cuddled and protected. Mm-hmm. And they actually say that we don't want to give our members false hope with these ideas. But it's a very sad situation that exists. But that's what happens with change. Change is a slow process, and I'm not really so focused on the people who are doing that. I'm focused on the people who are listening, looking at the channel, giving it a try. Because I want to make a video soon actually about something like, my name is Joe and I'm a diabetic, and then there's me partying and I can't eat nice food and I'm smashing on mango ice cream, just do you know what I mean? I just care about people who are ready to listen.
Yeah.
Because it does work. And, I'm hoping I'm one of those people too.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for this.
It's been a pleasure.
It's been amazing to speak with you about this. Definitely, we are going to be putting the link for Joe's channel in the description below, so please check it out, subscribe, like his videos, watch his videos. He has really good content, and it's an amazing story, and you can actually follow his journey. That's one of the things that we love, is that he's doing this upfront, open book completely. He is not just showing you the end result and the beginning. He's showing you everything in between, all his successes, his failures, everything. So that's been really, really wonderful. Please go and check that out. Also, we're going to be doing a video regarding reversing type 2 diabetes very soon. So look out for that. Head over to Joe's channel, show him some love, show him some support. I hope you guys are having a great day. Don't forget to make it wonderful, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Banana TV.